What's up, everybody? Isaac here with Civil Engineering Academy. Excited to be with you today on this fun episode. Today we're going to talk about an awesome TED Talk that was given by Mark Rober, and he actually talked about the Mario effect and how we can apply that to our studies when we're studying for the FE and PE exam. I found it a fascinating TEDx talk and wanted to share that with you, and really how it could apply to our own studies as we're trying to become professional engineers and really looking ahead for our career and our life. If we can frame things the right way, we'll be way ahead of the game. So it's going to be a fun episode as we talk about this. Hope you'll stick around with me. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. And yeah, excited to share it with you. See you in a minute. All right, guys, so let's dive right into it. There's an awesome TED Talk by Mark. He's got a very big following on YouTube, something like 3 million plus subscribers. And this guy does amazing things. As an engineer, he creates like some awesome stuff like the world's biggest Nerf gun, the world's biggest super soaker, and you know, you can check that out. We'll link to it in the show notes. But very fun stuff that he does, and he usually does these builds, these awesome builds, in like 2 to 3 months where he can build this stuff. But he has learned a few lessons in doing this. With his large following, one of the things that he wanted to test out with people is he wanted to prove that everybody could program no matter what their background was. So he had them go to this site where they could test out programming skills. It was a very simple box, and you were to navigate a car through a maze by using some simple programming structure and then running it. But what people didn't know is that he actually set up 2 different scenarios for people that actually took this exam. So for one group of people, he penalized them every time they didn't make it, and they were deducted 5 points from 200 every time they failed. And the other group, he didn't penalize at all, and he would tell them to keep trying to get through it. So what he found out is there were some interesting statistics that came out of that, and I really think that this whole thing could apply to those studying for the FE or even the PE exam, because I know many of you are in a similar situation where you're trying to get over the hump of passing. Maybe you're a repeat taker, and these things can apply. So anyway, for those that were penalized, he found out that I believe it was 58% of people ended up passing, and it took them on average about 5 tries. But what was really awesome is that those that weren't penalized for their failure, that weren't penalized for not making the car, that could just keep trying without getting points deducted, their percentage was 16 points higher than those that were penalized. So what's the takeaway from that? Well, I think there's a few things that we can talk about. One of them, I think, is that if we're framing failure in the wrong light, we tend to want to give up, and that's just the nature of ourselves. But if we can frame it in a way that we want to learn, and we can focus on the benefits at the end, and it becomes something fun to us, then we can do so much better. And we keep trying. If you think about, he goes on to mention this, and this is very applicable to me because we have kids, but if you can think about a toddler and how they learn how to grow and walk, you know, a toddler is never penalized for learning how to walk. They're always encouraged. It's something that they want to do, and there's just no penalty for failures there. And that also can be likened to those taking, you know, the PE and FE exams. You know, what is your attitude? What are you thinking about when you fail these exams? How can we get over the hump of doing that? And it's not just, you know, having a positive attitude. It's really trying to frame things in a way that failure is not a bad thing, and reframe the way that we're learning. And Mark does a really good job of explaining this. One of the funnest ways to realize this effect is he's called it the Mario effect. Now, I don't know about you, but I grew up in the 80s myself, and Mario is still around. But I have found with my 7-year-old girls that Mario is starting to come into light for them. And I have one of those Super NES, Super NES, it's like a classic, it's one of these smaller ones, and they've started to want to play Mario with me, so they've been diving into Mario Kart and Super Mario World. And what I've noticed as they've been trying to learn this is that it's very exciting for them. There's a fun character, new plumber guy, and all these cool characters in the game. But what I've noticed is that they stink at it, right? They just really stink at it. And everybody starts that way. And, when I grew up and I played the first Super Mario Brothers, nobody cared how many times you fell, how many times you jumped in a pit, how many times you got whacked by a fireball. It doesn't matter. What mattered is how far you got and if you saved the princess. So the point of this is that, just as a person is learning how to play Mario, just like my girls are wanting to experiment and play with them, and they have a desire to come back and try again and get a little better. We've been playing the old Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo, and it's been fun to see. First of all, you know what I mean? People with the controller doing this, and they're following the controller. Hopefully that makes them move, and I have to teach them, hey, let's sit still a little bit, and you can control that with just the D-pad there. So it's been fun to watch and exciting. So, but they're getting better. And the point is that this Mario effect, it doesn't really matter how many tries and how many times it takes. We need to reframe the way that we are thinking about learning and taking even these exams that we're taking if you're a repeat taker. Now, I was a repeat taker, so a lot of this stuff is applicable to me. And so when I look at what's called the Mario effect and that desire to just keep learning, to keep trying, it really has significant impact on the way that I took these exams. When I first took the FE exam, I was not very well prepared, and I ended up failing the first time I took it. I took it really early in my college, career, and at that time you could pick general. What was it? I took general civil, and I just did not have the coursework. I didn't have all the courses. I wasn't exposed to a lot of the content that was in those exams. But I later took it as general because that was more geared towards what I had, and I ended up passing that one. Same thing with the PE. The first time I took it, it was just I was really ill prepared for that one, and spent a lot of money trying to pass that by trying to take it early, actually, and that just didn't work out. So you end up spending a lot of time and money for your effort, which can be very frustrating. So one of the fun things you can do, and what Mark talks about, is he tries to make everything fun. If you can and he's made a lot of things into a game, and the same thing could be applied to Mario. He took a list of instructions that looked super boring and task oriented, and then what he did is he compared that to he took these set of instructions and changed them. Instead of inputs, he changed it to a controller that looked like an old Nintendo controller, and then instead of all these other instructions, he just flipped that into a game, which is exactly what everyone's been doing, right? We've been following a set of inputs and trying over and over again to play a game so that we can pass it. And so that's kind of fun to watch and see. And it's really a different way of learning. So if you can enjoy what you're doing and never, just don't give up on your goals and your dreams when you're trying to prepare to pass your FE&P exam, I think you're going to be a good way ahead. Have the right mental attitude, and just take failure as a stepping stone, and I promise that you can actually get there and get this thing done. So the Mario effect is real. People fail multiple times and they still can get through this exam. Enjoy the learning process, enjoy what you're doing, and I think that's going to carry you definitely a very long way. All right, guys, so that's just some of the tips about finding a love for learning, reframing how you're learning. You got to reframe the challenge. So if you're trying to pass the PE exam, let's reframe that challenge to not be such a dredge on building up so much anxiety for that end result. If we can make this a challenge that set your study patterns to meet that certain goal or challenge, have fun with it, do your best in learning and just having a good attitude, no matter if you've taken this one time or 8 times, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you are a bad engineer either. So there's a lot to learn there. I would encourage anyone to go check out Mark's YouTube post, about his TED Talk. I think it's very fascinating. I think it's very applicable not only to those studying the FE and PE exams, but it's also applicable to your career if you're learning stuff. It's also applicable to life in general. If you want to learn something new, as long as you love doing it, it doesn't matter how many tries it takes or how many failures it takes. If you are focused on finding and saving the princess, it doesn't really matter how many times it takes to get there. So go save the princess, go pass the FE exam, go pass the PE exam. If you're taking the SE exam, go pass the SE exam too. Those are all things that are awesome and that you can do. I promise you can do it. If you need more resources, go definitely check out our site, civilengineeringacademy.com. We have courses for the FE, we have courses for the PE. We're building a course for the California Seismic and Survey, which is exciting, and that is coming up. So go join our newsletter too if you want to. You'll be first to know about that. Anyway, guys, I hope this episode has been helpful to you. Go check out that Mario Effect, and it's the real deal. And it doesn't matter how many times you try, as long as you keep going, have a good attitude, and I can promise that you will get there. So anyway, hope you have a great day. If you have any comments about anything, feel free to let me know. We have a comment section. Also, you can email me as well, Isaac at civilengineeringacademy.com. That's ISAAC at civilengineeringacademy.com, and you can do it. So, all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you in the next one. Bye. Whoop.